Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a motion to approve the agenda,
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
and I will
I'll second.
second. Oh, Lisa will second that. Been moved to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed,
Aye.
same sign. Motion carries. All right, informational items. First up is the TriTech Skills Center enrollment. Is Rick on by chance? I don't,
He is.
okay. Rick, can you hear us?
Well, I can kind of share. I went to, part of my board report was, I went to TriTech last week, and when I came back, I thought it would be interesting for you all to know how many students are attending, what they're attending in, and so forth. You can see that 46 students attending TriTech. We talk about our community and where people work and what they do, and that there's a lot of professions and things that are out there that you know, we talk about going to college all the time, or we talk about whatever, and we have a lot of students that are setting themselves up to be very strong professionals in our community. And so you can see the list there that's there. And Rick, if you are there and we can hear you, you can interrupt anytime. So when I was there, it was quite interesting. If you go down to pre-electrical, there's 6 students attending the pre-electrical and 2 students doing the pre-vet tech. That is a whole new building down there. So I got to tour that and see what's going on. The equipment, all of our stuff that was in the building, all of our electrical, they actually have circuit boards and training and how it's worked. And it's a pre-electrical, and then they can go into get it right into the schools. And if they do that for a full 2 years, it's just amazing. It's just, it was so exciting to me when we got to see the different pieces. Was kind of interesting at the meeting. There was a topic of their radio and broadcasting is going away. Radio stations, right? The way things are done through, we listen to music through our computers and not necessarily on the radio station and that type of thing. So they're looking at how do they revamp, update that and come up with a new name and so forth. So it was quite fascinating to also that. So this was just an FYI. I thought that everybody in the community would like to see how many students we have working with their hands. And it's a good program.
I think it's a great opportunity for kids to get kind of a glimpse of what some of these professions will be. So I think it's a great program, and hopefully, you know, over time we can increase the number of kids that, you know, can fit into some of these programs. I know it's hard to get too many of us from high school in there just because of enrollment stuff for TriTech, but good program. Thank you. Next up is Transportation Director Ami Cook touring the Bluebird factory. I see there's in the pictures, I saw a brand new school bus that still had the wooden wheels inside.
So I went back to Georgia to tour the Bluebird plant. It was amazing. Got to see a bus from nothing to the final product. And the chassis, I watched him build from the chassis all the way up. They build the bus halfway upside down, flip it over, put it together. Automated paint system. They build all the seats. They do all the metal manufacturing there on site. And part of the reason I went back is I'm on the Washington spec committee for them. So we talked about all the different specs that are legal in Washington. We talked about what we would like to see on the buses and the changes and the automatic standard come in. That was really neat.
Will you tell them about the spotlight, the floodlights, and what you were talking
Okay,
about?
so the main thing that I would like to see is, and we talked about 6 hours about how we could get this done, is a spotlight that goes on the crossing arm. So when it's pitch black in the winter, it lights up 12 feet around the front of the bus for the kids. when they're loading and unloading. So we're looking at contacting State Patrol to see how we can make that legal and just make it a standard spec on the buses. Cause it's so dark and we're in the country and you can't see, just as another, hey, there's a bus here, look at, what's that light, slow down. Since no one can see a 40-foot yellow bus with red flashing lights. That's our main focus was a group of to pick that to focus on this year, the State Patrol to make it a.
It'd be really handy on the rural routes. They might not like them on the city routes, but on a rural route, that would be
Right,
really handy.
yeah, I was the only one from Eastern Washington representing there, but they lived me and that was really neat. We also got to see and learn about, like where the weak points are in the bus. So if we had to use Jaws of Life, where would we be able to go into in the bus to cut it open and get the kids out? There's not very many places
Really?
at all because of all of the structure and all the safety stuff in there. So that was really neat to learn that and know where that is. And then we spent some time doing roundabouts because those are coming into town. And now I have all the specs for the city. If you put a roundabout in, please make it this big so a bus can go through it. And then, I mean, they taught us so much history on the bus. They go back to 1927.
Interesting.
That's cool.
It was cool.
So, oh,
And
go ahead.
then today, Bryson, who we buy our buses for, held a barbecue for us, for the drivers, because we are 100% Bluebird fleet, and they bought the driver's shirts. So the drivers are super excited. They got
Nice.
hamburgers and
On the State Patrol, I don't know how to word this question, but to put a floodlight on the crossing arm or on the bus somewhere to light up that area, that's against the law at this point?
yes, because you
Okay.
can only have 4 white lights on the front end of a bus.
Uh,
So we looked at different ways to get around it. I can retrofit it and put floodlights up on the top and mount them down. They have to be different color.
oh,
So right now, in order to help get it brighter, all of our buses come with floodlights. And are not floodlights, fog lights. So it lights up the bottom, but not enough. It only lights it up to about 4 feet out, where the crossing arm is 6 feet. So we're looking to extend that even further to 12 feet with a floodlight.
okay.
Do we have strobe lights on the top of all of our buses?
We do.
Okay,
So State Patrol even mandates how those are used.
okay,
We can only use them if there's students on board. And it can't be just because it's dark out. There has to be significant fog
okay.
or vision sight loss to less than 6 feet in front of the bus.
So like heavy snow.
Okay, yeah, but not just because it's dark, which we like to run them when it's dark, because it helps everybody know what's going on,
Right.
and see what's going on and keep everybody visual, but we can't. 'Cause it's-
Right. It's too bad that they put I thought you could run them at night, period, but.
So other states like California, New York, even Georgia, they
Mhm.
have to have those on, strobe lights on if there's a student on board.
Right,
That alerts everybody to say, hey, there's students on board, flash the strobe lights.
the strobe lights are on,
Mhm.
right. Okay. But only with fog or,
Or snow,
Or
or
snowing.
freezing rain, or anything that just really blocks your vision
okay.
out in front of you. And around.
Could the State Patrol actually create a rule based on that, or would it have to go through the legislature?
It's OSPI and it's a WAC,
Okay,
so it's listed on the website, it's one of the WACs of how we can use the specific parts of our buses.
so if there's a rule, if there needs to be a rule change, it's gonna have to come from the legislature.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet. Although I'm currently, they revoted me in for president of WPT for our chapter, of West Benton County. So we're looking at different things we can do and talk with legislature and stuff.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
No.
Thanks, Ami, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Next up is, anybody here to speak? Anybody online? I think we're gonna skip that. Student representative reports. Caitlin, we're gonna start with you.
The only thing I have is we were worried about the whatever happened with the Wi-Fi. It like crashed and
Should be back.
I know it's back now. We
Oh.
were just everyone was wondering what it was for.
We had some data security issues and they've been resolved.
I don't know.
So it was very inconvenient for all of us.
Yeah.
Last Wednesday at our study session here, we couldn't get, everything wasn't working. BYOD, bring your own device wasn't working. Yeah, it was my VPN. I had to come to the office to work because I couldn't work from home. So there were some things, but took us about 3 days-ish to get it up and
It was a test to see how well we could function without internet.
running.
Not very.
Not
well.
very well.
Thank you, Caitlin.
So I don't have a ton. I would share sports news, but there's not really any good sports news right now. Girls soccer's doing good though.
There's homecoming week next week, isn't
Oh
there?
yeah.
Yes.
There's,
Our theme is Barbie.
That's an interesting one.
Let's see how you really feel about it.
I did tell you guys 2 weeks ago that I was gonna come back with some more stuff regarding the dress code and all that that's been going on. And to be honest, life happened and I don't have anything. There was just a few things from talking to people. There's a lot of what seems like nitpicking when it comes to what's actually being enforced and what's being allowed to go. And it seems like for the first 4 or 5 days of school, it was, strict and now it's gone. And I mean, most of the students don't have a problem with that, but it's if you're gonna set a standard, meet the standard. Don't just say, hey, this is the rule, and then completely disregard. And it's it's just weird that it's something that was like, this is the law, and now it's just kind of, if we see something overly egregious, I guess. You look like you have a question.
I do. So you don't feel that it's being checked in the mornings and things inside the building?
It was for about a week after that.
And it
No,
stopped. I mean,
as far as I know, I usually get here.
I'm not like looking, but I don't know.
Okay.
My
Thank
route
you.
in the day doesn't really take me.
Yeah.
through
Well,
the-
we have a meeting with the principals tomorrow, so we can talk about it.
Oh great, now I'm gonna hear about that.
No. I just,
I'm just kidding.
that's how we make things better.
There was that, and then there was, you mentioned the BYOD, and that was another thing that's been coming up. There's a lot of students who are trying to use personal devices. And you say there's still a BYOD, but all the teachers I've talked to say you can't use your own personal device because, whatever, and you have to be connected to the BYOD, which is fine. But there's no real clear thing because the BYOD still shows up on the Wi-Fi, but then you have teachers that say you can't use that. There's that. Yeah.
They're supposed to bring their own laptop, they're supposed to use their Chromebook. So can I clarify your question? So this belongs to the school district,
Yeah.
right? But if I had brought my own laptop in here, the idea is that BYOD, right, cell phones and things like that, it is advisable that we use a district issued laptop or a Chromebook or whatever that's going on. So my question to you is, can you put your cell phone on the BYOD Wi-Fi?
I think we can, but I know that at the middle school when I was there, which seems like way too long ago now, there were actual signs that had the passwords, had this, but now that seems to have completely disappeared.
Okay.
And there's a lot of students who are like, I want to use my own. I mean, I know you use yours.
I know there's a lot of sites that are blocked on the Chromebooks for college students. Like I have to use my personal device because the Chromebook blocks a lot of my like module stuff for my hospital work that I have to do. So I can't use my like Chromebook for that. But other than that, I haven't seen any.
And if I may, for that, if you've got something that you need to prove that you need to get on for class, that's blocked on your Chromebook, then I let the tech department know. I think probably the easiest thing to do would be to either just email techreports@schools.org or just make a list and give it to probably Kyla and Mrs. Smith, and then if things are being blocked that shouldn't be blocked, then if you let us know, we can unblock that.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
And then I had one other thing and I don't know. Oh, same thing. just not being found these amazing devices that everyone has. Again, it was the no, 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 and now it's okay, whatever, which I haven't noticed any real problems with. I know there's teachers that are more lax about it, teachers that are more strict about it, but overall, it's more of a warning, not a law. And I'm probably like self-reporting here because I use my phone a lot in class. I use it to submit work, I use it to look up questions that I have, because it's quite frankly a lot easier to pull this out and look something up and get my Chromebook out, sign in, go to this, hope the Wi-Fi works, and then get that to go. So I think there's no real clarity on where a line is. There's no line drawn. It's more of a stay within the tracks type of a thing. So it's a little confusing, and I think that we've lost track of where we were hoping to go.
Okay.
There's that. Yeah, other than that, I have nothing. I guess, like Deanna said, homecoming week is coming up. Pajamas are on Monday, I think, and then I don't know what else there is. There's a lot of Barbie themed ones.
Yeah.
And that, oh yeah, I don't know who's responsible for making the bulletins. I assume this is a high school issue, but still, we were told on the 25th, on Monday, that tickets were on sale, and they went on sale on Friday, so we weren't notified about that for 3-4 days. So that was kind of a, oh, that's a thing now. So there's that, and then, yeah, that's all I have. Just some small issues.
Okay, thanks, Noah. And I don't know, kind of to speak to Caitlin's, I'm sure she's not the only person that has had issues with Chrome. Is there a way we can send out like a, I don't know,
This is-
school-wide thing that if you are having issues with accessing sites for schoolwork, then,
Yeah,
So I think they have done that, it just
Oh,
probably
okay.
didn't go to students.
okay,
So who's your advisor or teacher?
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the other thing, she would be, could send and say, these are all things that my students need to access, to have a hard time accessing, maybe you guys can do a little brainstorm list. And then, and send it to tech, and that way they can get them all whitelisted for you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because I'm sure there's, body parts and different things being talked about, so the filter's probably blocking it.
great, thank you. Okay, moving on to action items. Item A is vouchers.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve, the vouchers as presented.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions?
I had a few questions, just some clarification questions. I was able to work through some of them, but sorry, I have to find it. It's way down here. There was, I couldn't put a name to the, like what it actually was. 908214 USIP for $621,783.88. What was that?
That's our school insurance. That covers our buildings, our automobiles, our liability insurance.
There was that, and then there was one on here which I discussed with the teacher, and it got better clarity on it. But when I seen it, I was like, "Wow!" It's number. There's too many of these pages. Oh, right here. Nope, never mind, that's not it either. And somewhere in here, there's $63,000, I think it is, for a welding simulator. Which to me was just a little, that's a little strange, a little extravagant. I know that comes out of the CTE budget, which is like limitless, it seems like sometimes. But I was just looking at that and it was, wow, that's a lot. And I looked up what it was, and it's actually pretty cool. But I know we have the in-person capabilities, and I don't know the cost difference that this would save versus, getting welding equipment or, having to replenish all that. But I just seen that and I was like, that is just astronomically high. I can buy a nice car for that.
I think, Rick talked about that
Mhm.
a couple months ago, maybe-ish. And I think a lot of it it's kind of in the same realm, and quote me if I'm wrong, but the medical table that they have.
Yeah.
It's kind of in that same category of experience. Being able to do it virtually and have it correct you as you go versus trying to weld something and look at, oh, that didn't work. And now I gotta, redo it again. So you're kind of, you're a little bit, you're wasting, gas and time, stuff like that. It's supposed to help
A
out,
lot of
but
pieces of metal with.
Yeah.
The other thing I think CT always has to take into consideration is they really have to be working at that high industry standard. That's the expectation. That's why they do get a lot of funding. So those top end things that kids would experience if they went to school for that, that's kind of that expectation too, but.
Yeah, no, that makes sense when you put it like that, because we don't have cadavers.
Yeah.
I mean, I suggested that last year to a science teacher, and they said, and I quote, "No way in hell." Anyways, yeah, that's all I have.
okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All of those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item B is the contract for the Director of Business Operations.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract for the Director of Business and Operations.
I'll
I'll
second.
second that.
Sorry.
I'm gonna give it to Anthony.
Sounds good.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the contract for the Director of Business and Operations. Any questions regarding this?
I think she should make a speech,
So let him vote and then we'll call her up.
say something.
So let him
Well,
vote
we
and
haven't
we'll call
approved nothing yet.
That's my question.
So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And with that, we would like to welcome Delise Weddle. Did I pronounce that correct?
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This is your welcome goodie bag.
Exciting.
You are officially a Mustang.
Thank you so much.
So give him a 30-second elevator speech about you and.
No, I'm born and raised in the Valley. For the last 9 years, I've been working in school districts and at ESD 105. In all various finance roles, accounts payable, fiscal technician, and most recently payroll. And I'm really excited to start and to start hoping to make some positive changes. And I'm really excited. I'm very grateful to be here. And I'm ready to show you guys what I'm made of. So.
Sounds good. I'm Jason Reiner. I'm the sitting president. Peggy Douglas
Nice to meet you.
and Anthony Dorset and Elise Riley are online, but you'll meet them soon enough, I'm sure. So thank you.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
See you and hopefully you will.
Yep, October 9th is her first day.
Have a good
Nice to meet all of you.
nice to meet you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item C is contract for network and cybersecurity.
So it's quite a long contract. This is something that people need to understand in the world in which we live. We have insurance. And when you have insurance for network, things that go down, whatever, we have coverage that takes care of that. This is the agreement for the company that helps manage that. And their costs and so forth are paid for by our insurance. We do have in the event there's a large expenditure, we do have an insurance deductible. That big premium that you were talking about is part of what covers us for that. Happy to, this has been reviewed by our legal counsel.
We're gonna ask that.
So Mr. Mumford has reviewed that
So Clear Risk is the manager of this or?
Yeah, so
is that how
to
that
me,
works?
that's I've had a hard time understanding this.
Okay.
So Clear Risk is our agent.
Okay,
We are insured by USIP. That's who we pay our premium to. And then kind of like when your home mortgage gets sold, right? So USIP is our insurance company, and then Arete or Arete is the company that works for Axel, who is our insurance company for cybersecurity.
I'm gonna need a drawing of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we, like when somebody knocks on your door and says, do you want to get State Farm insurance? So that's Clear Risk. But the guy who knocks on your door isn't State Farm, right? So we write a check to USIP. And then USIP says, we'll manage it up to about $250,000. And then when it goes above that expenditure, then they get a company called AXA. AXA is another insurance company for big projects. And they have their own attorney and own cyber team. And Arete is one of those cyber teams.
Great.
That's as close as I've learned more about network security and cybersecurity in the last few weeks than I probably want to know. That's something I don't want to have as a career.
nice, okay.
Well, then, given all that, I will make a motion to approve the contract for network and cybersecurity as presented.
I'll second.
I'll second that.
Beat you. So it's been moved and seconded to approve the contract for network and cybersecurity as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those same sign, the motion carries. Next up is the first reading of policy and procedure 4260, use of school facilities.
So this is pretty much what we talked about at our study session. For the discussion on the piano tuning fee, remember that came up? So that you'll notice that that's in red at the bottom. Also, we did rotate this to a landscape version so that it's bigger when it's printed for people. And so I think that's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
From
And this is the first reading.
this is the first reading.
Okay, then I guess I will make a motion to approve the first reading of policy and procedure 4260, the use of school facilities as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve first reading of policy and procedure 4260, use of school facilities. Is there any questions?
That's one. Is this gonna be published somewhere so that way it's known throughout the community that you can rent this, or is it kind of gonna be that if you watch this meeting, you know about it? type of thing?
Well, I think that's a good discussion question. One of the things that we want to do is we want to allow the different people who may like to do it, but we are not in the business to compete with our local establishments downtown. So one of the things that you have to have is if you're going to let the ballet use the auditorium, but your insurance requires an agreement. And so we needed to have an agreement in plus, but I don't think we're in the advertising of our facility. Is that a good
Okay,
way
that's
to
a fair
word that?
assessment, yeah.
Mhm.
So it's not that we would tell somebody no necessarily if it met within our skin, but we're not like gonna go run a newspaper ad that says, come rent Prosser High School.
It's
Put it on Airbnb.
it's really a service we're doing when people need it.
That's a good word for it. It's more of a
Yeah.
service.
Any other questions? So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item E is first reading of policy 6030, financial reports. And you got the dates that you,
I think that's reasonable. it's not a perfect, calendar because you gotta keep moving. So there's gonna be a couple of meetings in a row where we're gonna have to hustle to get the reports done, but while we're finishing up the year-end one, we can still be working on the other reports too, and just finalize the year-end and then a pretty quick turnaround. As you notice, we'll have September and October due at the same time. Second board meeting in December. Then we'll start again a month to do November, so I think that's reasonable.
Nope.
Okay.
And obviously, if it's pushed, then we can,
Notify, or if it's sooner, it can be
Right.
sooner. But we felt it was imperative from our experiences that we had something in policy.
Mhm.
and I think that the word that I appreciate in here, and again, I know it's in policy, but the expectation would be to have the reports at that time, so,
Probably a good idea just to have something.
Correct.
ready, yeah.
just so we know, I need to know what
Right.
it does.
Part of our onboarding and
Right.
planning and training also.
I would recommend, make a motion to approve the first reading of policy 6030 financial reports.
I'll second the motion.
Been moved and seconded to approve, first reading of policy 6030 financial reports. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item F is the highly capable program plan approval.
Looks a little bit different than what you've seen me bring before for approval, but that's because the highly capable grant used to be in iGrants, and then I would complete the grant and put that in the board packet, but they stopped doing that. And didn't really tell us how we were supposed to do it. So this is the information that we give to teachers and parents and students about our program. Our program has changed slightly in that we did, using our K-3 enhancement money, add X time to our open door teacher or gifted teacher, where the name may change, but our gifted teacher, we never have had a K2 teacher. And we used to not serve K2 students. Well, we have students and it's been a challenging one to maintain their student learning plans and ensure that we're offering services appropriate for their area of gift. So they're still in, going to be in the classroom. It's not a pullout, not currently a pullout. She may pull them out for a time during their intervention enrichment period. But that's the part we're growing. We have a new teacher, Christine Means. She is actually a former gifted student herself. And she is so excited about making really good quality improvements to our program. She has fantastic ideas. She's doing really great things. And so that expansion with the K2 is her. She's learning. She's communicating with our schools, seeing what's happening in other districts. She's doing such a great job. But that really, we offer services in the classroom in K2. 3-5 is still currently a pull-out program where she pulls the students out, works with them. One exception is we do have only one qualified second grader at Whitstrand. So that second grader goes to the 3rd through 5th graders, and she's like, she can hold her own with those 3rd through 5th graders.
Great.
So I'm like, great, that works. That may not work for every kid, but it's working for this little gal. Middle school is, we have the open door class, but we have kids who are gifted in arts. We have kids who are gifted in mathematics, so they can be in accelerated math, so we're serving them their area gift. And then high school, it becomes their course path. So they may be going into honors, AP, college and high school, running start, just whatever their particular path and area of interest is. So we do referrals 2 times a year. We cannot test kids 2 times in a year. So if I had a child I was referring as parent, I like my child is gifted, I want them tested. They can't get tested in the fall and the spring because it invalidates the results of the test. They can only be tested once a year. So any of our existing students that have been here that get referred get tested in the spring, and new students, kindergartners, anybody new to our district get tested in the fall. We also do a full screener with first graders, and then we do a screening of student assessment results in the fall and in the spring. What's their level of their SBA? What's their iReady assessment results look like? How many levels did they grow on the WIDA test? Our bilingual students, the students EL qualified. So we look at quite a few things. So we're taking referrals right now. And so if you know a student, you can refer them. And then we'll be testing and placing students that qualify. So that's our plan. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Is there a limit to how many kids
No.
you can have in the program? No,
There's no limit.
great.
No, the true gifted percentage is supposed to be around 2%. But in some grade levels, we might be more than that, and some we might be less. It just depends. But we range in that 80 to 100 kids in our gifted program at any given time.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. I recommend, I make a motion to approve the highly capable program plan as presented.
I'll
I
second.
second that motion.
And third,
It was a toss up.
it was in stereo. I think Elisa might have won.
Lisa got that one?
Yeah.
All right.
She did.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the highly capable program plan. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item G, consultant service agreement, the homecoming DJ.
Pretty much self-explanatory. 7.5.
Have we worked with this person before?
I'm sorry, I can't answer that question.
It doesn't look familiar to me. So you have to give us a rating after.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the consultant service agreement for the homecoming DJ as presented.
I'll second.
Just gotta wait a little.
That's right. So it's moved and seconded to approve the consultant service agreement for the homecoming DJ. Any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion carries. Moving
And
on.
I'll recuse, oh, sorry to interrupt you, Jason. I'll recuse myself from any conversation or voting on item 8.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item H is the City of Prosser Land Use License Amendment number 1.
So this is a really exciting thing for us. And so just to kind of clarify, if you want to look through it, if you read down section 1 for consideration. So this is my work that I've been working with the security team on their qualifications, and worked with Chief King with the City of Prosser to make sure that we were able to qualify them, do all of those pieces, and you'll notice a 0 fee. So we're working still on the other agreements in a non-cost agreement. This is protection for both parties by having the contract for insurance or any things that may come up. So the city attorney looked at it, and then our attorney looked at it, and this is just a safe, straightforward way to do business.
I make a motion then to approve the City of Prosser Land Use License Amendment number 1.
I second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the City of Prosser Land Use License Amendment number 1. I do have one question. In the training, so we're gonna provide active shooter training for the city staff in all their facilities?
So I could see where that wording came from. It goes the other way. They can come in and do training in our building, so they know how to handle our building in the case of an active shooter. So like at night,
Yeah,
they're gonna come in and practice. They're gonna learn our buildings, how
Oh.
things work. They'll be able to go to each of the buildings
Okay.
and learn how that works. So we're not providing the training, they're able to do their training in our buildings.
So they're
Familiar with our
okay,
buildings.
thank you.
They're not gonna use it during the daytime though.
I don't think so to the city processors and their facilities, so it will. To the city staff, so it would be also our GAP training, right? So if one of their members wanted to come to our GAP training, they could come to the GAP training. But it's about the facility also.
Okay,
So I'll give you an example, maybe their city clerk does work and wants to learn about GAP training, which you and I call the BAT training, right? Or whatever, right? The GAP training, then they can come and use our facility and be trained by us. We don't have to go to and then they can use our building at nights. Is that how you read that? No?
no,
What do you read it as?
the way, at least the way I read it is, in consideration of using the gun range,
Uh-huh.
Prosser School District will provide active shooter training to the city staff
Oh, to all the students? Well, that's not.
at least once every year. Such training will be specific to the city of Prosser and their facilities.
I'm gonna say that we may not want to do this then until I think there's a verbiage question in here.
At least the way I read it, it
Now
looks
that
like
you
we're
say-
providing the training
Yeah,
to the city, not the other way around.
Like if they're showing up to our GAP training when we're training everybody else, oh well.
Yeah,
That's what it is, but I don't
But
know.
if we're supposed to go train at their facility,
or train
it's
them
not
at their,
facility specific.
Will be
really.
specific to the city of
Like the
Prosser.
training isn't.
yeah,
I think I think we need to push pause on
Yeah,
this
yeah,
just for a
I-
minute.
I don't think it hurts to get the verbiage,
Correct.
but I understood that they wanted to come to our facility and do.
Yep, that's what I
and be
understood
tra-
too.
And
I
train
get it,
here.
it just doesn't read
That
that way,
way,
but
yeah.
I
at
agree.
least to me.
Yeah,
I think when you read it again, I agree. So I think we
Okay.
need to push pause until I can clarify the verbiage.
Okay.
okay,
Um,
I will pull my recommendation to approve the how do I say that?
I don't
you
know.
just withdraw your motion to.
I withdraw my motion to approve the City of Prosser Land Use License Amendment number 1 until we have further clarification on verbiage.
Thank you.
And then Anthony needs to.
Anthony,
second it.
can you withdraw your second, please?
I withdraw my second.
Because that's not how
We'll
it was
table it.
presented to me.
So let's, I'll take a motion to table, please.
I'll make a motion to table this until the next meeting.
I'll second that. So all the, there's been a motion to table item H, City of Prosser Land Use License Amendment number 1. Seconded by me. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries, and let's make sure we get this on the next.
Yeah.
Our next business meeting.
Okay. And I will clarify that because when we spoke, we talked about and what I read when 4 days a year was not what I thought I heard.
Okay.
And I take responsibility for not reading the paragraph more accurately.
It's one of those things where you can read it and it makes sense, but then when someone else reads it to you, it's not.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is that training it's not facility specific.
I
You know
thought
how
we
to
were-
barricade a door, you need to know how to run, hide, fight, you know, swing a bat, you can do that anywhere.
Mhm.
And so when I say the 4 days a year, I thought they were using our facilities for that,
Okay.
for the training in our buildings. So that's
think
why I
it's
said, I think we
easy
just
to
need to
sort
clean it up.
through.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, that's it for action items. For today, moving on to consent items.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items as presented.
I second that motion.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent items A, B, and C. Any questions regarding those? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, next up is Craig, interim business manager.
So we have the September enrollment report for you. Just remember that this is, again, make sure that I say this accurately, but the transition to kindergarten, the TTK is now included in, I guess, the basic ed piece, right? It wasn't last year, but it is this year. And so the budgeted number, 23-21, also includes 36 TTK, and I think we have 35 for the month of September. So according to the budget, we're 48 FTEs above what the budget was, which is a big number. It's about 9,600 a student, 450,000, you know, roughly. So again, you can see the pattern, right?
Mhm.
So we're gonna try and hope to maintain that as long as we can, and I don't think we've ever dropped 48 from the beginning to the end.
Yeah,
So,
great.
you know, just realize those are dollar signs, getting approved in our building district, and
Yeah.
that's a very positive.
No, it's good.
Really, really good news, and I'm happy to say that we're still seeing a positive trend even this month. So that's the fastest way to solve some of the,
Yeah, you can read, you know, we're up in every category, basically, elementary, middle school, and high school.
That's wonderful.
So that's the good news, and I'll just end on that.
Nice, thank you.
Great.
All right, Deanna, you're up next.
I have a few things, but I'll go pretty quickly. I've talked about this before, but I was asked to be a part of the WSU Tri-City College of Education Advisory Board. I've been on it probably 7 or 8 years now. Since the time Tri-Cities wanted to be responsive to districts and meet our needs, because sometimes they were doing things like, for instance, when I first started, they were offering reading endorsement. They're trying to get us to get people to go take reading endorsements. And I'm like, nobody needs a reading endorsement. At that point, it was like, if you have a K at elementary, it'd be great if you have one, but you don't need it. So you're offering something. They're like, we can't get people. I'm like, because they don't need it. So they've really been very responsive. You know, since that time, we've become part of their alternative route grant for our paraeducators. We had talked a couple years ago about the idea of building a student program from starting when they're in high school with our teaching careers class. And now we have that this year. There's a flyer that's in there that kind of talks about that program. Any student can participate in that, where if they're in the teaching careers program and they can apply in. We decide as a district how many spots we are willing to offer. I always hesitate to say, oh, we'll give this many spots, just because it's hiring someone. We certainly can use substitutes as paraeducators, and that's what they do for a couple of years, but then we're expected to hire them. So we'll probably say 1 spot, but it's still a first right of refusal contract, not a guaranteed position, which is the same thing as we have with the alt route program with the paraeducators. But they've been great. They've been like I said, they're very responsive. I'm really excited about the teaching bridge. They've already come and talked to Rick and Val Baker here. And then I'll be talking to the teaching careers class next Friday, Thursday. Anyway, we are working on our MTSS system, so multi-tiered system of supports. I put this graphic, and I have an email that I'll send. I know, Jay, that Elisa and Anthony are online. I have an email I'll send to all of you that it has information from this particular website, but there's others. And it's where you screen all of your students, and based on their needs, you make adjustments, you provide interventions, enrichments, you monitor if those are working. And then if they aren't working, then you make improvements. So it's a system. It's a system that has the parts that support students academically as well as socially and emotionally. And so we will be talking more about this. This is a 2-year process we're doing with ESD. We're also working, fellows in the same place we are. So we're training together and working on our system together. But I just kind of wanted to, we've talked about MTSS before, but start getting this kind of in your vocabulary. We'll do down the road when I feel like we have more that we are talking about doing as a district. We'll talk more about it. I'll do some presentation during study session. Right now, our team that goes to the ESD is myself, each of the building principals, our special ed director, and our director of migrant bilingual. So Eric and Nikki are going to. We only been to our first one, but we made some we made some progress there, but it's going to be a process. About probably a month and a half ago, I talked about, I saw an article in the paper that Zilla High School is offering AA with YVC. And over the last month and a half, I've been can't get a hold of anybody at YVC. Finally today, someone emailed me back, and I was able to also talk to the CBC Running Start director. And I think part of it was during that time is kind of their break, because there's their little summer vacation between quarters. So that article was misleading. YVC's Running Start program didn't even know it was put into the paper. So it's actually not like go there and get a AA. Today, when I talked to the CBC person, it gave me a clearer picture of really what they're doing. To get an AA from a community college, YVC, CBC, whatever, you have to do 30 credits there, and an AA is 90. But in a combination of doing courses on campus, college and the high school courses, you do an alignment of your courses. And so you can still offer, and kids can even take the classes online through CBC, but they have to have 30 credits there. We could offer 60 of those credits as college and the high school here. They just have to take at least 30 through CBC, and they will award the AA. So I sent our list of college and high school courses off today. I know we have some areas we have to, history is still an issue for us. So we need to have history. We have science now. We have lots of math. We have ELA, and we have lots of elective courses. They're PE courses. So potentially down the road, kids would literally, I know they can do everything online now. It was a really interesting conversation with Elizabeth from CBC, because she's like, no, your kids do great. And I said, I know they do great. She's like, Prosser kids are some of the best Running Start kids we have. I said, I know, but we have kids that go and take Running Start classes and then they fail, not because they're not smart, but because all of a sudden they have to be responsible on their own. They're 16. And they need the structure of high school. They need the support. They need to be in their Mustang period. They need those things where someone's looking out after them. The other thing is I was trying to explain to her, and I don't think she really understood this at first, she's like, no, anybody can do it. It's free. I understand that, but we have kids who opt themselves out before they even think about doing it because they might be homeless. They might, and they think, I don't have a car. I can't get there. Maybe that's something, I don't know if I can do that. So I think it would just make it a much more equitable opportunity for our students to have, and it would also keep the students here on campus. A lot of parents choose it because of the financial reason. It isn't necessarily that their kids are really ready. I've always felt like you need to know that your student is really ready to walk out of high school as a junior and not be in their activities and not be part of clubs and be separated. And some kids, that's really for them, but some kids it's not. But a lot of families are choosing it because of the cost.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hopeful that we can continue to work on this year. And it would be something that we would have a plan. Like if you want to do this, this is how you can get there. The other advantage is kids can start taking college and the high school classes before their junior year here. And you can't do Running Start till your junior year. And it's kind of hard sometimes for kids to get all of those credits in, especially if they're active, get everything in and actually finish the A. A lot of kids get close and they didn't quite finish. I think it'd be a better opportunity for them to be able to finish if they can start with some of those other college and the high school credits before their junior year. And then you don't have to try to get so much in those 2 years. So I'm really excited about it. I talked with Brian about it. We're both really excited about it. So I'm waiting on CBC. They're gonna do the course, to see what the courses or their equivalencies are for us for their AA. And then we'll go from there. So stay tuned on that. And that's, I think, it for me.
Do you mind if Yoshimi, I know you came in late. Do you have anything?
Yeah.
To report?
Sorry, I have a night class at YVC for my history 136 credit. So that's US history credit. Anyway, was there progress on the crosswalk in the parking lot?
We, Andy Howe and I have been working on that, and we need to get there's way more to it than I learned. So just a second. So I learned this. So we have to have somebody look at ADA pieces. There's a lot of little pieces that have to come in more so than just painting a crosswalk.
Yeah.
So the answer is a little progress with the goal of making a progress. So you know that little yellow bumpy stuff you see, and then changing the sidewalk and what type of sidewalk. And if we put a sidewalk in, do we have handicap out on the other side? There's just multiple pieces that come into play. I wish it was as simple as taking the white out there and pressing the sidewalk, and it's not.
Okay, and then what was the other thing? Oh, there's many people in my grade who are gender non-binary, and the gender neutral bathrooms haven't been open for a while at the high school. Like, just at all, really. They haven't been unlocked. They're like right down there. I can show you guys where it is.
I know.
And yeah, and many people just don't feel comfortable going into the girls' or boys' restroom. So I feel like that would make a lot of people's school experience better. So that
Question for you. Were they unlocked last year?
They were for the first trimester. After that, they were locked the
Yeah,
entire time.
okay.
after that.
I just needed some context or some history.
The reasoning that I was told, because I learned a little bit about this last year, was that there were students who were going in there and they were just skipping classes in there because they're individual restrooms.
They're right above the security office. So our security officer can check those.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. And
Let us,
then-
thank you for that because I wasn't aware.
Yeah, and then is there progress on a post saying like who the student board reps are? Just so like people know.
So I don't know if you've seen the website today. We're working on that. There's a lot of things that are going on. The staff table that we talked about, it's in my report. We'll be talking about it. So we got a lot going on inside that. And I'm not making excuses because those things are important, but we have all the contracts that are due in the month of September, so everybody can get paid. So the people that are working on our website some of those are October movement.
Like totally understandable. Thank you.
Mhm.
And then that was it.
Thank you. Now, it's your turn.
That's all right. Gonna take one, pass it down. You can collect them at the end, because there's more than what you need. Anybody in the audience will be down there at the end. This is my typical piece of paper that I pass out. I don't go over it all. There has been some fun things. I talked about being in TriTech. I did attend my first SAC meeting at the ESD this last week. That was great. Last night, city council, I think they're kind of getting used to me being at the city council meeting, so that's good. Still riding buses, helped serve lunch at Heights Elementary. I was a mystery reader in 3rd grade. I did speak to the Teacher Academy class today, and I want to share a little bit about that. So there were some interesting pieces in there. I don't know, I didn't do an actual head count, but I'm going to say 20-ish. In that class, there have been 5 absences total so far this year. There has not been a single tardy. There, of 108 potential assignments, there have only had 10 assignments that are missing. There's over half the class with 100% in the class. No dress code infractions, and only 2 hall passes have been used so far this year.
Where was that? I'm sorry.
That was 3rd grade.
No, this is the Teacher Academy class here at the
Oh.
high school. And she just was, Mrs. Baker was just really, really proud of the type of student and whatever that's looking in. When I spoke to them today, one of the things that we talked about was the goal of a Teacher Academy class is not to convince you to be a teacher. The goal of the Teacher Academy class is for you to go, yes, I want to be a teacher. Or I'm sure glad I took this class because I never want to be a teacher. And the reason that's super important is just what we were talking about in money and some of these other pieces. If a student graduates from high school, is 18 or 19, thinks they want to be a teacher, they go and spend 2 or 3 years and they start their student teaching and go, they've been in school for 3 years, spent 3 years of college money, and then they go, I don't ever want to teach, right? So the whole idea is about the experience. So that was a really exciting thing today. I went to a swim meet, which I have to tell you, all my years in education, I've never been to a swim meet, and it was amazing to me. So you saw the pictures in the Pulse and Prosser, helped set up a soccer game. We talked about the data security issue. We just talked about that. I'm working on one grievance to try and finish that. The Pulse of Prosser, still getting some good feedback. I haven't had any negative, except I did make one error, so I'm correcting that. I made a comment in the last Pulse of Prosser that there are 4 students to a seat in a bus, and that is incorrect. It's 3 students, and then what was happening, and this is where my part will be when I'm in the school bus the next time, I'm gonna go route 5, is some students didn't want somebody else to sit with them, and so they had 2 students in this seat and 4 in this one, and they wouldn't share. So we're gonna work through that. So 3 seats or 3 littles to a seat in the bus. So I'm gonna fix that in my next issue. Staff spotlight, I have to commend Selena on that. We got that up and going. We're still getting things turned in, but we're gonna have a bank so that every so often we update those. Still working on our staff locator on the app and the website. We've got the information to Aptigee, which is our website manager. Sonia Rivera is working. So when we had all of our pictures taken, it comes back with our number underneath it. Well, Aptigee doesn't know who we are as a number. So we had to go through and type everybody's name on the file name to change that. So we're working on that. Surplus, I don't know if you've noticed, but the junk pile is kind of slowly going down. So that particular gentleman, he comes, he takes the wood off the desks or does whatever, and then that goes into a pile and he's scrapping the metal. So it's slowly in with our goal is to being done really soon. The aerator is ready to roll. Fertilizer is in and we're prepping for spring grass treatments. That sounds kind of weird, but you do a lot of the work at the fall rather than doing it in the spring reactive. And SVID water goes off on the 18th, or they start shutting down on the 18th. So we want to get some things down and watered before that happens. I don't know if you've driven by, but the first round of black stuff is going down on the track. Looks, I have to tell you, I walked out there and I was like, looked to me like they're laying asphalt, but it's a little bit different. It is pellets of rubber rather than rock, like an asphalt, laid down in a similar heated application. So that was kind of fascinating to me. Conceptual drawings for the tennis courts for those who are listening, we will have an 8-court option with bathrooms and the things that are requested, and we'll have a 6-court option too, so that we can see them. KRV playground, it got opened, all but one piece of equipment today, everybody. So we're still waiting one big piece part that was broken, damaged in transit, whatever, but the bark is down and there's a little fence around the one piece that's not any good, but KRV playground is opening. Film on the windows at Whitstrand is just about done. I would be able to report that it would be done by now, but there was 3 windows that had like cracks in the corner or whatever through construction. And we need to replace those windows before we put the film on. So it's,
Except for those.
I mean, we're getting
Gotcha.
there. Athletics, we're planning for 24-25 already. We've had some growing pains and learning about protocols and so forth inside transportation and working with our transportation director, athletic director, routing, changing. So there's just some pieces going on. And that's really good for both Jackson and Hawk and I, and the relationship with transportation and working on that. Started my first meeting with principals. So we're working on our AWSP framework. Super excited about the work with the building security officers. We've had 2 meetings now. We're getting some stuff in place. Fiscal, the final numbers are in for September and enrollment is up. That's the best way to solve a fiscal problem in a hurry. We started our meet and confer, Deanna and I did. We did with the PEA, the teachers, as well as the PSC. And we had some really honest, good conversations, did a lot of problem solving. So I hope that we can do those regularly and keep those relationships real strong. Delise Weddle, we joined our team. Her first day is October 9th. At our next study session, one of the things that came up was, and Elisa and I have spoke about this, and you had said, let's pass getting these security meetings going again. And one of the things we talked at our security meeting today was there's really a difference between security and safety. Safety being ice melt, tripping on a curb, how the bus pulls up, versus security as one point of entry, the bad guy training gap. So one of the things we talked about was to make our time real efficient was maybe doing a security 1 month and a safety the next month, so that you had the right people at the table at the same time and could make some decisions. So it was a really good, good meetings are going on and being able to keep them separate. That's what I've got.
Thank you. Any questions?
That's always good information. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to board member reports. Peggy, we'll start with you.
Not a whole lot. I did want to say next month is National Hispanic Month. And make sure that we are celebrating our Hispanic families and population, and we always do. But hooray, hooray, and that's all I have.
Okay.
Oh, and I have something for you when you leave tonight. Okay, thank you.
Anthony, do you have anything?
Nothing to report.
Elisa?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Okay. I don't have a ton, but as your WASDA legislative rep, I had the privilege, I guess, I don't know if that's the right word yet, of attending the General Assembly, I can't remember, General Assembly, I think, meeting on Friday. One of the things that one of the main topics of this meeting was changing the WASDA weighted vote was getting so basically the weighted vote, for those of you who weren't here or new online, the weighted vote was they basically gave you more votes per your population of the school district. For example, Prosser had 2 votes if they called for a weighted vote. Seattle had 19. So part of this General Assembly was actually to remove those rules. It took 3 hours to approve the agenda because that was agenda item number 1. It took another 3 hours to get through agenda item number 1, but it passed.
Yay.
So it's a great news, I think, for all the districts in Washington, including Prosser, that it's 1 district, 1 vote on the legislative positions of WASDA. So I think we're starting to see, at least some of the meetings I've been in, there's been more participation in WASDA, I think, with some of these smaller districts. And I think it's just going to continue to roll and get more of these districts involved, because WASDA does do a lot for us as a district. So I think it's important to take a fair role in that. However, being that it took so long to get through the first 2 items, we made it through 7 items on Friday. And we had 42 on Saturday. I do have to apologize. I was not able to attend all of Saturday, but I still think a lot of things are moving in the right direction. So,
Well, thank you for sticking with the most important one.
it was brutal, but thank you. I appreciate that. With that, that's all I have. So future meetings, we have a regular board meeting on October 11th, 2023, right here at 6 p.m. in the workroom, and there is a tentative special board meeting for next week. To be determined. So with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Super cool about that vote.
Yeah, super
So-
cool.
So when the Patterson, my sister in Centerville with